Guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a turkey call out of a turkey wing bone. So, to start, you're just going to take these shorter feathers here, and sometimes they're lighter, separate them from these taller, darker ones. Then you're just going to find where they separate, cut right along this bone here, these bones. Get a nice cut through there, all the way underneath it. You can work your knife underneath the bone, and then kind of pry it up to get under it.
Do you want to pause?
There. Then once you got your knife under here, you just skin it all the way back. Until you get past these shorter, where these shorter feathers end. So you can find that, it's about there. So get the knife over there, and then stop there. Then these feathers, you see that you want the skin to keep them all together, so you can just throw them out like that. So pull this out of the way, then cut right in between these shorter feathers and these longer ones. Just cut right there. There should be a bit of skin holding them close together. Doesn't really matter too much where you cut, just you want these off, these to stay. So you can kind of see, they're all connected till here. So cut like that. And then all these are gone. These can go in the garbage. Okay, now you're left with the main part that we're going to need, this, and some feathers. So first you just want to take some of these smaller feathers on here, just cut them out. They don't really matter, so throw them out when you're done. And then you can cut as many as you want off, but for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to do too many. And then in between here and here, there should be a joint. So that's why we skin the feathers back, so you can see better. Then you can kind of use your fingers, feel where it is. Then just take your knife, stick it in between two bones. It can be really difficult to find sometimes, so just keep going, working around at it, because it's a weird shape. Then you can go to this side. Once you got a bit on the back, cut some of these feathers. Cut them off. Once again, these are just making it easier to see what you're doing and where the joint is. So once you got some of these off, then you can just take this meat right here, this tiny bit here, skin some of it, because we're not going to need these feathers here. So just cut some of it off, making it easier to see again. Then take your knife once you found the joint, and just stick it between the two bones, point down. Don't hit your finger. And if you can't really find the joint, because it's harder, like I'm having difficulty right now, just cut along these feathers. Then you can just peel all these back once they're separated. There. The other thing, if you're having difficulty finding the joint, just take them, go bend it back. Now you can see I got this little spot here, and those in between two bones. So take my knife, stick it in there, just work it around, because it will be difficult with the shape of them. Just keep your knife going along there. If you want, you can cut some of this excess meat off to make it a little easier on you. Throw it away. Now you can really see the bones. You get a knife, work your knife all the way around the crack here. Then, since you're not going to be needing like the ends of these bones, and if you're having difficulty still, just snap it off. And then it should just be left dangling with a bit of skin. Just cut through with your knife. And there you go. You got feathers separated from here. So feathers, if you want, some people, they take them, they spread them out like this, and then they pin them down, put some borax on the meat and stuff, clean it up however you want, and then pin it down for a bit, let it dry. Then you can turn it into like it'll sound, if you do this while you're out in the morning hunting one off a roost, it'll sound like a hen flying down. So just keep going and that works. Okay, so this is the main part of what we're going to need. It's really easy to get through. Cut any feathers, meat, anything off until you're just left with bones. Just be really careful cutting, because there's one really small bone right here that you're going to need, and it's very easy to break. So just be careful cutting around it, get everything off, and you should be good. Okay, for this meat inside these two bones, you can just take your knife, make sure your hand's not behind it, and just stick it down. Work your way as tight to the edge of the bone as you possibly can without hitting it on both sides. And then, once it's mostly separated, you can just take it in your hands. Separate it all. Take it in your hands, stick your knife underneath it, then just cut through on both sides. And that's quite a big piece of meat that you've got out now. So then just keep working at it until all the meat's off. And if you want to make your life a little easier with these, instead of trying to work in between, you can separate. They're just held together with bits of skin and meat. So just take your knife, cut right in between the two. And they should just separate like that. Do it on either side. This side will be a little more difficult where the joint was, because it's still connected a bit, but still fairly easy. And there you go. You got 2 bones. So it's a new day, and I'm just going to finish off these bones that I've got so they're ready for the pot. So before we start to boil them, you just want to get most of the meat off. A lot of it will just boil off when you start it. So just a little more on this bone right here, and then it should be good enough to just start boiling them. Okay. So you don't need them perfectly clean, but get as much as you want off. The more that's off, the less time you'll have to wait for them to boil. Okay. On to this next one. What I've found before is the fat, when you boil it, it won't as much dissolve as it will just fall off the bone and float. Everything else should dissolve. Same with the bits of feathers, they will just float up to the surface. Okay, so I'm going to finish this one up a bit, and then we're going to go to the pot. So I've got bones from 2 separate wings right now to make 2 separate calls. We're just going to boil them in this pot with some dish soap and borax. So all you got to do, take them, drop them in. So this pot's been going for a little bit now. And then I'm just going to take some borax. That should be good there. Then take the dish soap and just let them boil for a bit until they look mostly clean. But just beware, once you put all this stuff in it, it might bubble up. So I've had that happen before. And yeah. Okay, at this point the bones have all been boiled, and we just gotta cut these ends off at the right spots. So I've made a little mark for where this is the bigger of the 2 bones. Got a little mark here about where you should be cutting. You don't want it to flare out too much, but you don't want to be cutting it halfway through because it won't make the right sound if it's too short. So pick your spot. You can use either a Dremel tool like this or a hacksaw works. Just be careful not to nick the bone up here or anywhere where you're going to need it. Make sure you keep it in a straight line. So Okay, so you can see here, it went a little bit sideways, so I just got to correct it by cutting a little bit off here, so it stays in line with this. Okay, so you can see this bone marrow inside, so I'm going to finish up these cuts, but to get this bone marrow out, you can either just take it and try and blow it out like a straw, then rinse it out, or take a stick of some sort and just push it through until all of it's cleared out, because when you're using it, you don't want any bone marrow in it, or as little as possible, because it might end up in your mouth when you go to use it. So, but if you did what I did and left some meat on the outside after it's boiled, then you cut it, just make sure to clean all that off when you're done. Okay, for these smaller bones, they're a little different for where you have to cut them, because they have to be able to fit inside the bigger bones once they're hollowed out. So again, you don't want to cut up here where it starts to grow bigger again. You want to be cutting close to here where it's skinny still. So right about there. And then on this other side, you want to, same thing, you don't want to cut up where it's getting bigger again. Just find a spot where it's about the same for a length. It should be about the same width. So for me, it'll be about here. So I'm going to finish these cuts, then we'll go inside and clean them up, clean the excess meat off with a knife or a wire brush. Okay, so we're going to be cleaning the excess meat off the outside of these bones. What I'm using is scalpel, but you could also use any other type of knife, as long as it doesn't have a serrated edge. Otherwise, it won't work as well. Got a wire brush to brush some of it off. And I got, to get the bone marrow out of it, I've got this little skewer thing, so I can just poke it through. But when I'm done poking, I'll just rinse through. Show you that after. I also got some sandpaper for when we're done to smooth it out. So I'm just going to start, take the scalpel, take any bone, and just get rid of all of this stuff here. And if it just came out of boiling and they're still slightly wet, a good way to do it is get some of these harder pieces of fat off with the scalpel. Once you've got all that, just take your wire brush and just brush it back and forth, and it'll all just fall off, and then you can pull it off with your fingers. Okay. So there are some hard parts to this. So once you've got some of this off, you can see these little bumps along here. They're little hard, as you'll find if you're taking them off. So just take whatever knife you're using and just work as close to the bone as possible. It'll take a bit, but you got to get them off, unless you want bumps on your claw. Okay. So got this mostly cleaned off. Now I'll do a little bit more after, but just want to show you how to get bone marrow out. So this is the bone marrow inside the bone. Otherwise, if you take all of it out, the bone's hollow. So I'm just going to take a skewer here, and I'll just take it, stick it through, move it around, and it should be able to come out the other side. It's not coming out. There must be a piece of bone in there or something. So just work it around, get as much of this out as possible, and then just rinse it under a tap or something, and it'll all come out. You're going to have to repeat that process multiple times to get it all out though. So you got to be patient, get it as best as you can, otherwise your caul will taste bad while you're eating. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to clean out these ones. I've got one that's almost finished. So I've took these two bones, and to make them fit inside each other, you might have to take a knife and shave this one down a bit so it fits better in there. And then, so once I did that, mixed the epoxy together and just applied it around here, around in between the two bones to fill any spaces there might. So I finished cleaning out the other bones, and I found it really helpful to take a thing like this and push a little tiny piece of paper towel through to get it extra clean. So now I'm just going to have a demonstration for how to hold it and use the turkey caul that you've got now. So to hold it, you can use either your left or right hand, whatever's more comfortable, and place it so when you're holding it like this finger should be almost in line with the end of the caul. Then you just take your other hand, cup it over the end like this, put it on your mouth barely, and you're just going to be like pulling air through your lips, like while you're doing it. And this isn't very far in your mouth, it's about halfway between your lips. And when you're going, you move your hand like this to get louder sounds or quieter sounds. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.